Cancer, unfortunately, has been all too present in my life. From my childhood with my mother, and in recent years with my father, who passed away from cancer, and then I had cancer myself in 2006, and then again in 2007. So it's something that seems like every direction I turn in, family, friends, that have had cancer.
Tell me about your mom.
My mother, she was first diagnosed with cancer in 1977. At the time, I was the youngest of 5 kids, and she was about 50 years old. And it just came up out of nowhere, as this always does with cancer. I remember the day that we found out about that. I was at home after school. I was by myself. My father had come in, and he had just learned about it, and he was in a kind of a frantic state, very nervous, very anxious. And from that day, our family's experience changed because of all the treatment and everything that she had to go through.
So tell me about the treatment.
So my mother had breast cancer, and at that time in 1977, that was just a scary phrase, a scary term, and you just had a sense that things may not last much longer. So within short order, she had a mastectomy and also chemotherapy. And it was a tough process for the whole family. She had a lot of nauseous reactions to the chemotherapy. She had pain from the surgery. We, the kids, would help her with her therapy and exercising her arm and getting things back to as much as normal as it could be. And of course, everything with the family, all the things that go on with 5 kids and all the activity. It was a lot of upheaval. It really was.
How painful was it for your mom?
She experienced a lot of pain. My mother experienced a lot of pain. She, with the surgery and the mastectomy that she had, I think that the medical advances and the technology at that time were so much different than they are now. And so in the aftermath, in the weeks that followed, she was just in a great amount of pain with her skin, and having to kind of go through therapy for that, much of which we did at home with her. Kind of a remarkable experience at that point. But she was a real trooper. And the thing that I loved about how she handled all of this is, despite the fact that she's caught up in this crazy situation, being the mother of 5 kids and going through that much on her own, she talked about it. She was expressive about it. She talked about her fears. She talked about how she was able to take on the fight, both the good and the bad. And I think that was really important for our whole family, that there wasn't some kind of false front to it, that she was able to work through it, and so that we all went through that together in a very healthy way.
But still, you were 10 years old.
Right.
How frightening was that?
It was very frightening for my mother to be going through cancer, and at that time, the C word was something that you had an association like, this may not come out well, and that you may lose everything that is normal about your life, that it could just instantly change. And she went through a lot of treatments and visiting an awful lot of doctors and trying to find the right therapy, the right regimen, and that worked well. She was actually able to help other women going through the same thing. So, in the time that she's even recovering from her own experience, she was outward looking. She was focused on trying to help those around her, which I love and about her.
She beat cancer the first time around.
She did. So her life was changed. It was not what it had been before cancer.
Answer that question with she did beat cancer.
Yeah. My mother did beat cancer, and it was a tough road and a lot of challenges, and really to some degree experimental drugs that they were trying at that time. Tamoxifen was a new drug, and she was one of the first people on that. In the years that followed, she had some normal life that she was able to experience, but then it came back about 10 years later. She was literally walking from the car in the driveway to the front door, and as she was walking to the house, her femur just snapped and broke in half. And up until that point, we didn't know that it had come back. So it was kind of a jarring experience at that point that, that we were back in the midst of that fight. And then it is something that she passed away from some years after that.
Was it breast cancer the second time?
It didn't come back as breast cancer, but that's where I think it had originated. Despite the fact that she had taken chemotherapy and lots of treatments and still is taking medications for the treatment.
It still came back.
Right. Yeah.
So, why is the research being done, including the research done at Hudson Alpha, so important in this area?
Right. I think the work of Hudson Alpha, to me, is incredibly personal. This is something that goes back to my earliest memories. An idea that cancer in my family changed our lives forever. It robbed us of experiences that were just of a normal, childhood, and to see my mother going through this was incredibly hard. And then, my father to be dealing with cancer and to have passed away from cancer. I myself have had cancer. And I think it just captures you as a subject that we can do something about this. It is getting better. And the idea that we have Hudson Alpha here, and that Hudson Alpha is taking a lead role in the research for this, is something I want to be a part of. We don't have to let this destroy other families. We don't have to let this end other lives. We can do something about it. And for Hudson Alpha to be here and to be able to be part of that is something I love and I'm excited about.
Now, this is something, do you consider yourself to be well-versed in genetics and genomics? What I'm getting at,
Yeah.
to tell you this, is does it matter if you understand genomics
Right,
to
right.
be able to believe in it?
Right, exactly. For the work at Hudson Alpha, I don't understand all of the technology about DNA and genomics and all the advances in medicine, and I don't really have to. It's the kind of thing I want to be part of that circle that helps support the people who do know the science, who are working on the new ideas for how to handle this and to make advances in cancer. If we can, on the local level, make a difference for this problem that affects so many millions of people around the world, I'm excited by that, and that's something that I want to support and why I love what Hudson Alpha is doing.
Can you say that one more time,
Yeah.
but without the local level part?
Okay.
This is going.
So the audience is more widespread?
We're hoping.
Okay. So this is part of the branding for Hudson Alpha on a larger stage? Okay. Okay. So I don't know all the technology and the advanced science and the genomics related to cancer research, but I love the fact that Hudson Alpha is at the center of working with that and on a national and on a global setting. That Hudson Alpha could be part of the solution to make a big difference in this for all the families down the road and for the families right now that are dealing with cancer. That's something exciting and something I want to be a part of.
That is wonderful. And will you do this? It may feel cheesy, but will you say, I want to be the one that stands up and says, I'm going to do something?
Sure. I want to be one of the people that stands up and does something and joins the fight and supports Hudson Alpha. And I could say that differently
Okay.
too.
Yeah. And so I want to be the one who stands up and says, I'm going to do something.
Okay.
Now, I love
Yeah.
the part that you added.
Okay,
about,
yeah, yeah.
I'm going to support Hudson Alpha.
Okay.
Or I'm supporting you.
Yeah.
Already are.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to be the one that stands up and helps Hudson Alpha and helps find a cure for cancer.
That was good. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.